Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for Atlanta Business Radio. Brought to you by OnPay. Built in Atlanta, OnPay is the top-rated payroll and HR software anywhere. Get 1 month free at onpay.com. Now, here's your host.
Lee Cantor here, another episode of Atlanta Business Radio, and this is going to be a good one. But before we get started, it's important to recognize our sponsor, OnPay. Without them, we could not be sharing these stories. Today on Atlanta Business Radio, we have Steve Brett with Virtual Pitch Practice. Welcome, Steve.
Oh, thanks a lot. I enjoy coming out and doing these things.
Well, before we get too far into things, tell us about Virtual Pitch Practice. How are you serving folks?
Virtual pitch practice is something that we've been thinking about for a long time, but now because of COVID, we're doing it, and it takes on a kind of a special importance. You know, in the old days, you could go to pitch practice, right? And pitch practice was a question of getting in front of a bunch of people that you know, maybe at Atlanta Tech Village or ATDC, and working on your presentation, whether you're presenting to an investor or a prospect or a channel partner. You just got a chance to practice and rehearse and get some feedback in real time. But of course, now with COVID, we can't get together in person in the conference room. And so we've decided to have a virtual pitch practice. And the way it is, it's just as though we were doing pitch practice together, except that it's on Zoom. It's remote. Wherever you are, wherever the rest of the team happens to be, we're going to get together. We're going to work on our presentations. We're going to get some feedback and make them better. So
how'd you get involved in the startup community?
The startup thing came pretty much in the last about 6 or 7 years. You may or may not know this, but I actually started in radio, went into the ad agency business, and then came to Atlanta. And when I got here, I got hooked up with a bunch of folks at Emory University. And Emory's Goizueta Business School, like so many others, was trying to build its reputation for entrepreneurship. And what they did, and I was one of the founding board of advisors for this, was put together something that we call the RAISE Forum. And, you know, in 15 words or less, the RAISE Forum is an opportunity for qualified businesses who want to scale to get in front of active investors who want to invest, looking for a reasonable payback or a big payback. Maybe they're looking for Facebook. And so we built this thing over 6 or 7 years. We have the professor of entrepreneurship, Charlie Getz. We have Barry Etra, who founded this particular group. And what I'm doing with virtual pitch practice is exactly what we do with the startup companies who come to the RAISE Forum. They come to us, we get a panel of experts. You know, I'm the presentation or the marketing guy. We have a numbers guy who came from Deloitte or from Accenture. We have a big-time marketing guy who worked growing national and international businesses. And we have subject matter experts. And so when these companies apply to us because they need $500,000 or $5 million to scale their business, we go through, we look for the top 8 or 10 companies, and then we put them through this same process that you would have with virtual pitch practice, which is we let them do their thing, and then we give them pointers because we know what their prospects want to hear. We know what investors want to hear. And all of us have some kind of experience making businesses grow. And we've been doing that for 7 or 8 years now at Emory's Goizueta Business School.
Now, of the people who are doing these pitches in front of you and your team, what percentage have something that you would feel is, you know, kind of fundable and don't have a great presentation? And what percentage has a great presentation but doesn't maybe have a fleshed out idea?
Okay, I'm going to answer that two ways. First, at the Raise Forum, we get about 100 applications twice a year. We cull the 100 down to what you just said, 25 bona fide businesses with real potential. And then we cull that down to the 8 or 10 by working with them. And we only present those 8 or 10 with bona fide investable businesses to the active investors. But the beauty of virtual pitch practice is that everybody's invited to come. I want everybody with a crazy idea, with a beginning idea, with an idea that's just about to take off. Everybody's invited to virtual pitch practice. And, you know, the other thing I forgot to mention is that it'll be interactive with the internet. So what you're going to get is instant feedback. You're going to get 50 or 100 or 500 people saying, that's a great idea. Or, are you nuts? You can't make any business out of that. But we can either coach them, we can help them pivot, we can help them reshape the message so that it does make sense. They'll get that kind of business acumen from our subject matter experts. And so, you know, at the Raise Forum, you've got to have a proven business model. For virtual pitch practice, we want everybody to come and try out your idea online with us.
So now how does that work? I go to just virtualpitchpractice.com and sign up for a slot. It's like an open mic night. I just show up and then...
That's exactly it. We're just launching it, and we're about to put up a calendar sign-up sheet, and it'll be just like open mic night. One thing that we will do on a bunch of shows is have some superstars and highlight some successful businesses. But for the rest of the program, the rest of the session, it'll be sign up, first come, first serve. And the format will go something like this. We will give you, I mean, what is an elevator pitch anyway? It's about 15, 20 seconds, right? If you're in the elevator with Mark Cuban on Shark Tank and you're just about to go into the studio, you got 15 seconds to talk to him. We'll work on people's elevator pitches first. And so that'll be the start of your session on virtual pitch practice. And then we'll give everybody an additional 2 or 3 minutes and 2 or 3 slides, because 3 slides is what I would teach as a beginning, a middle, and an end. So you got to hook somebody in the first slide with their problem or their pain point, or, you know, it's a once upon a time. Once upon a time, we really needed to invent this and such. Then the second slide, which is the middle of your presentation, will be the proof. And the third slide will be the pitch or the close or the ask. And we'll give people 2 or 3 minutes to do a very short version of their full sales pitch or investor pitch. And again, we'll come back, we'll give them tips on how to do their slides better, how the script could be better, how the story can be told. And like I said, all at the same time, the chat box will have people commenting from all over the internet. So everybody will get about 5 minutes, maybe 5 or 7 minutes on the show, and then we'll move on to the next. And hopefully in an hour session, just like a Friday pitch practice would be at ATV, we'll see probably 4 or 5 full pitches. And everybody gets a shot who has signed up on the calendar link.
And then do they get a recording of it? Or do they get to save the critique? Like, how does that work?
Good. Thanks for asking. I almost forgot. The nice thing about this is they will have improved, hopefully in their 5 or 6 minute session. We will record the whole thing and we will edit. And we can do it one of 2 ways. Of course, we can create the archive, which we will do, so that anytime you've been on the show and somebody says to you, hey, can I see your interview? Sure. you just come to virtualpitchpractice.com, you type in the name of the business or the individual, and bang, there it is. And we will edit these things down into a 2 or 3 minute, movie format that'll play on anybody's computer, and we'll give it to you so that you can either send it out for your marketing efforts, put it on your website, whatever you want to use it for.
So now, any tips for presenters? Like, is there kind of a format or a template that you like, or is there some kind of do's and don'ts you can share?
Well, there's a million do's and don'ts and tips and formats. I will say this, a couple of things. One, as I said a few minutes ago, every presentation needs a beginning, a middle, and an end. You got to hook somebody, then you have to tell them your story, and then you have to close them. Or if you want to put it a different way, it's the premise, the proof, and the promise. Okay, so that's one tip right there. And it doesn't matter if you're using 3 slides or 10 slides. You could use 3 slides to set the hook, 3 slides to do the proof, and then 3 slides to get to the close. So that's one thing. The other quick thing I'll say about a big presentation is everybody can go online and look at Guy Kawasaki's template for making an investor pitch. Guy Kawasaki was the guy who twice brought Apple back from the brink and worked closely with Steve Jobs to make the company what it is today. He's got a 10-slide template, which you can use. But here's a tip. If you're going to use the template, and we've all seen this, so the template for Guy Kawasaki, we've seen the template for a PowerPoint presentation. Do not go with the headline, "About Us." Instead, what is it about you? We're the best because. Do not go with the headline, "The Problem." Instead, replace that template headline, "The Problem," with, what is the problem? The problem is we don't have enough this, or you need more that. Remember to replace the template headlines with the headlines that matter to you and your business. And the last thing that I'll say is a lot of people say, "Oh, I can't do that. I can't present. I get nervous." And they crash. Here's how you get over that. Preparation. Spend a lot of time. If you have a presentation to do on Thursday, don't start it on Tuesday. Start it 2 Thursdays prior. Work it out. Put it down. Bring it back. Fix it. Look at it again. Show it to your mother. Show it to your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your colleagues, of course. Try it out on somebody first, like pitch practice, and let them tell you what's good, what they understood, what they didn't understand, and rehearse. Then, by the time you get up to do that, it won't be a question of, "Oh, I can't do that. I'm so nervous. I didn't have enough time." It'll feel natural. And even if you're reading the script, you will now be able to read the script in a calm, natural way. That's, the whole thing is everybody does great when they're sitting over a coffee at Starbucks. But it gets a lot harder when you have to stand up and do it in front of a conference room or do it in front of a conference with 200 or 300 people. So preparation is key. Can I tell you one quick anecdote?
Sure.
All right. I had a client who came to me and he said, "You know what, Steve? I black out." I said, "What do you mean you black out?" He says, "I get to the podium and I black out. And afterwards, my clothes are soaked through and people tell me I did all right, but I don't remember a thing about it." I said, "That's crazy." And here's how we helped this guy. We practiced going in to the venue from his car. And he got to the front door, then he went back to his car. And then he went into the venue and he walked all the way to the hall. And then he walked back out to his car, so that each time he was reducing his anxiety. Finally, he got to the podium. He started to make his presentation. He was so concerned about the slides. I said, you forget about the slides, just talk. I'll do the slides. And lo and behold, 2 weeks later, this guy was ready to do a great presentation at a national conference. And he remembered doing it. So there's always a way to fix it.
Now, from the mechanics of doing a pitch, how important is the storytelling kind of emotional hook part, or the kind of the nuts and bolts of the technology? I've interviewed a bunch of tech startup founders, and right. A lot of time they get kind of hypnotized with how cool their technical prowess is and how innovative their technology is. And they're not great storytellers about, like you were saying, about solving a problem.
So I'm going to refer back to Steve Jobs again. Steve Jobs was a hero of mine. I had Apple stock since the beginning of time and the first Apple computers, and I followed his career. Steve Jobs said about product development, and this is about pitching as well, you don't start from what you have, your cool technology, and try to sell it to somebody. You start from the user experience. What do they need? Why are they unhappy? And how can we make their experience better? And that's how we develop the product. The same thing is true of the pitch. Engineers and software guys and tech guys, and I know because both of my son and my son-in-law are tech guys, they get into the weeds immediately. So if it's complicated, think of the user. What do they care about? Tell the story about, do you remember the time that you were on hold forever and the answering machine didn't answer and that you got cut off? And as soon as they say, yeah, let me tell you my story, or that happens all the time, now you can tell them what you've invented or what you've developed, because there's a personal connection. And one last thing on that, the more complicated your concept is, the harder you have to work to make it understood. Now, let me be clear. I'm not saying dumb it down. Scientists and doctors at CDC, where I teach workshops, they say, well, I'm not going to dumb down my presentation. I'm not asking you to dumb it down. I'm asking you to work harder for somebody who's unfamiliar with the material to explain it to them in order to make it clear.
And is that at the heart of what your firm does?
Very much so. Very much so. Virtual pitch practice is going to be a lot of fun. My business that I've been working at for the last 10 years is presentation tune-ups. I will sit with any individual and work with them on a project basis. They'll bring me the deck. They'll tell me who the audience is, and they'll tell me why they haven't been able to meet the mark or to connect with the people they want to connect with. And we will reshape the story, the language, the headlines on the deck, and give them a presentation that actually accomplishes what they need to accomplish.
Well, if somebody wanted to learn more about virtual pitch practice or presentation tune-ups, what are the websites?
The websites are presentationtuneups.com. It's all one word, presentationtuneups.com. That's what I do. And if you want to get on the show or get that free, kind of virtual pitch practice, again, it's virtualpitchpractice, one word, .com. And sign up now and we'll get you on the mailing list for virtualpitchpractice.com. And shortly we'll be putting up the calendar invites so that you can schedule your appearance on Virtual Pitch Practice.
Well, congratulations on all the success, Steve. Thank you for sharing your story today.
Thanks for having me, Lee. I really appreciate it.
All right, this is Lee Cantor. We will see you all next time on Atlanta Business Radio.
Today's episode of Atlanta Business Radio is brought to you by OnPay. Built in Atlanta, OnPay is the top-rated payroll and HR software anywhere. Get 1 month free at onpay.com.